President Trump lashes out at NATO allies, saying the US doesn't need help in its war against Iran.
NATO's making a very foolish mistake, and I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us.
Iran's top security official, Ali Larijani, is killed in an Israeli airstrike as the US and Israel continue to target the country's leadership. 2 people are killed in an Iranian missile strike near Tel Aviv, as Iranian state media says cluster warheads have been fired at Israel in response to Larijani's death. Heavy Israeli airstrikes are reported in the Lebanese capital Beirut as Israel steps up military operations against Iranian-backed Hezbollah. And coming up on Business Today, oil prices top $102 a barrel as energy facilities in the Gulf are hit by Iranian drones. I just want to bring some breaking news to you that blasts have been heard in Doha. We don't have any further details yet around these attacks and these blasts just yet.
Also tonight, a huge gas field in Iran has reportedly been attacked by Israel. Oil prices rise sharply. Israel intensifies its strikes in Lebanon, bringing down this apartment block in Beirut. Just to say that while we've been on air, we've been seeing reports from both Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and from Qatar about attacks from Iran, with Qatar saying a gas facility's been hit. We'll have more on that, of course, on the news at 10.
It's been extremely difficult to film when you're outside, even using your phone, trying to film what's happened. You are looked at as a spy, as a potential spy.
A daring eyewitness account of the war from inside Iran.
The head of the Iranian army is threatening decisive retaliation after the country's security chief was killed in an Israeli airstrike. Meanwhile, the US military says that it has used some of its most powerful bombs to destroy Iranian anti-ship missile sites near the vital shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz. Vincent McAviney reports on the latest events in the Middle East overnight.
Ali Larijani was Iran's security chief and one of their most experienced and influential policy makers. As secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, he sat at the heart of decision-making on war, diplomacy and national security.
Dr. Ali Larijani,
his death was confirmed by Iranian state media. The Israeli airstrike which killed him removed one of the Islamic Republic's central figures shaping strategic decisions. The head of the country's army has promised decisive retaliation. Iran's Rear Revolutionary Guard Corps has also confirmed the death of Gholam Reza Soleimani, the head of a prominent paramilitary force killed in another Israeli attack. Their deaths come amid a broader campaign in which several senior Iranian officials and commanders have been killed within a matter of weeks. These Iranians were celebrating Larijani's death at their annual fire festival, this one held in Barcelona.
We Iranians are not necessarily, we're not naive, we are not necessarily in love with Trump or Israel. We are very, very appreciative of the help they are actually offering to us.
In Lebanon, Israel has continued its aerial and ground assault, targeting the Iran-backed militia Hezbollah. Overnight, Israel faced another barrage of Iranian missiles. 2 people were killed after one, believed to be carrying cluster munitions, hit a neighborhood in Tel Aviv. The Strait of Hormuz remains a key flashpoint, with many tankers remaining unable to pass through. Oil prices are rising, with effects being felt in households around the world. Late last night, the US said it used some of the most powerful bombs in its arsenal to destroy Iranian anti-ship missile sites along the coastline. But in spite of ongoing US military action, Ali Larijani will be replaced. He was seen as somebody who might have been willing to make a deal, but his successor may decide to fight it out. Vincent McAviney, BBC News.
Our other main story tonight, and huge fires are burning in Iran at a petrochemical complex. It's the largest natural gas field in the world. Israel has reportedly attacked it in what is a major escalation that has already seen oil prices jump sharply again. The gas field is shared with Qatar, which has called the attack dangerous and irresponsible. Iran has continued to launch strikes in retaliation at Israel and across the Gulf, where a number of US bases are located. Here's our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette.
South Pars is on fire after an Israeli attack, the world's biggest natural gas field. It's operated by Iran, but also by the Gulf state of Qatar, who condemned this strike as dangerous and irresponsible. Oil prices spiked again, and Iran vowed to retaliate. Today in the capital, Tehran, another display of defiance and grief. Streets filled with the foot soldiers of the Islamic Republic for the funeral of the latest leaders assassinated by Israel and America, including Ali Larijani, the top security official said to have been running Iran. The signature slogans sounded again: death to America, death to Israel. Then last night, Israel killed another on its list, the black-turbaned intelligence minister Ismail Khatib. But Iran says its system is safe.
I do not know why the Americans and the Israelis still have not understood this point. The Islamic Republic of Iran has a strong political structure with established political, economic and social institutions. The presence or absence of a single individual does not affect this structure.
And it fired another wave of missiles into central Israel, suspending temporarily operations at this train station struck by shrapnel, hitting multiple streets in a city just east of Tel Aviv, slamming into this residential building. It's the second time this area has been attacked. Today, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog came to see this scene for himself.
We shall overcome because the enemy is getting hit and getting hit very hard. And eventually, when we are getting closer to the moment, the people will rise up, and they rise up.
In Iran, too, residential neighborhoods are in ruin. Red Crescent workers rushed in to rescue people from the wreckage of their homes. Both sides say they're not targeting civilians, but more and more civilians are suffering. Daily life in Iran shattered as this grievous war grinds on. Everyone, everywhere in the dark about how and when it will end. Lise Doucette, BBC News.
So oil prices have surged again today after that attack on the gas field in Iran. What impact is it going to have on people here and on petrol prices? Our Deputy Economics Editor, Darshini David, is with me. We can see the repercussions already.
Sophie, we're definitely not insulated from the impacts of this war, are we? And we have seen renewed tensions in the energy markets on the back of what has been a new front in this war. You know, America has shied away from hitting Iran's energy infrastructure. Israel has done so, and it's affected Qatar's ability to produce. That really matters because Qatar is a big producer of gas. The UK is one of its customers. But having said that, we only get about 1% of our gas from Qatar. So this doesn't raise the risk of taps here running dry by any means. However, we do, of course, buy our energy on international markets. We're all jostling for that kind of supply. So just take a look at what's been going on with the oil market, for example. You can see that oil prices not back up to that sort of high we saw last week, but certainly elevated once again because of concerns about what this could mean next. And already, when we talk about petrol prices, new figures out today have shown us that the price of a litre of unleaded is up by almost 10 pence since the start of this conflict. Diesel by even more. And what we were looking at there with the oil price could push them up even more. As for gas and electricity prices, remember, we are insulated because of the way our system works for a little bit longer. This carries on, though. Today's movements are a reminder there could be a nasty sting in the tail, which we'll have to deal with.
Darshini, thank you. Israel has continued its heavy bombardment on Lebanon, striking central Beirut today as its campaign against the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah intensifies. The Lebanese authorities say at least 12 people were killed. Over 1 million people have been displaced since the war began. From southern Lebanon, here's Wira Davis.
This was the 5 o'clock wake-up call, just 4 blocks from our city centre hotel. Israel is no longer just targeting those areas of Beirut regarded as Hezbollah strongholds, now going after its infrastructure and financial institutions. But these were also civilian homes and investments. After too many emotionally and physically draining wars, few here want another conflict, and those Israel is trying to damage remain defiant. At least a dozen people were killed in Beirut today. But in Lebanon's south, it's at another level. Today we return to towns where Israeli airstrikes now happen around the clock. A family escaped with minor injuries from this huge blast because the projectile initially failed to explode.
No, there was no warning. It happened suddenly. It suddenly hit, but didn't explode for 5 more minutes. There is no one here related to a political party. We are all civilians. We aren't affiliated with anyone.
There was no warning at all.
The exclusion zone makes people understandably tense. When they're sometimes willing to speak, they're often stopped by others. Also feeling the pressure, staff at this Nabatea hospital, dealing today with horrific injuries from multiple airstrikes. Victims with severe burns and shrapnel injuries. Israel says it's only attacking Hezbollah sites. People here say many victims are civilians. Medics and civil defenders treat them irrespective of who they are, and even though they're also coming under attack.
Yesterday, the building right next to the civil defense headquarters, only about 10 meters away, was targeted and destroyed. 11 of our team members were injured. You've seen the damage to our station.
We're now leaving rather earlier than we had intended to because the Israelis have put out a warning ordering people inside the exclusion zone that they have to head north of the river Zarani. And as we are well inside the southern exclusion zone, we've got no option but to head further north. Wira Davis, BBC News, Southern Lebanon.
Meanwhile, the US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has told a Senate committee that Iran was not trying to restart its nuclear enrichment program. It comes after President Trump justified the current war by saying Iran was weeks away from a nuclear bomb. Our chief North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue, joins us now from Washington. So she appears to be publicly contradicting the president.
Well, she does and she doesn't, because you're absolutely right. 18 days ago, the White House said that the reason for this war was that Iran posed an imminent nuclear threat. That's what they said. And in her written statement to the committee, Tulsi Gabbard said, that's right, the nuclear capabilities were obliterated and there have been no efforts to try to rebuild them. When it came to the actual hearing and she was pressed on that, she wouldn't say it. And she said that the president had the decision to decide whether there was an imminent threat or not, but she wouldn't repeat her own words in the committee. She also wouldn't be drawn on whether she'd warned the president about attacks on neighbouring countries in the Middle East, like the UAE, like Saudi Arabia, like Kuwait, despite that having been in intelligence assessments for the last few years, along with the difficulties in the Strait of Hormuz. I think what we're seeing here, Sophie, is an administration that's got a dislocated message on the justification for this war, and with it starting to hurt American consumers at home in terms of gas prices and indeed some attacks around the country, the justification is becoming more and more difficult to make.
Gary, thank you.
But first, since the US and Israel began their war nearly 3 weeks ago, getting any sort of news out of Iran has been fraught with difficulty and danger. With the regime there seeking to maintain strict control of the war's narrative, anyone who speaks out does so at great risk to themselves. Now, though, ITV News and the documentary maker Zandland can reveal the story of one filmmaker in Tehran who, despite living under an internet blackout, has managed to send us videos of life in Iran. If caught, the filmmaker, who we are calling Shirin, could face the death penalty. Therefore, we have changed her voice with AI to protect her identity. And although her story is just one perspective among millions, it shows the desperate situation of a people caught between a despotic regime and a war seemingly without end.
We just got the news that they killed Ali Khamenei and his family. Everyone's screaming out of the windows.
حضرت آیت الله العظما سید علی حسینی خامنه‌ای شهد شعیب گوارای شهادت را نوشیدند.
People have been rejoicing in the street. You can hear fireworks right now. وای ترسیدم. الو ببین بابت حالا پشت بونیم همه چی رو دیدی. It's been extremely difficult to film when you're outside, even using your phone, trying to film what's happened. You were looked at as a spy, as a potential spy. So we were forced to film either through our windows or through our cars in order to not be seen and arrested, essentially. The mood feels heavier. I think people are exhausted, naturally. People are starting to lose their loved ones. A lot of checkpoints. A lot of patrols with groups of men that are masked with AK-47s.
هر کسی امروز تو خاک ایران نغمه از حلقومش بیرون بیاد که به دشمن هم نوایی کنه، اون زیر پاش تلاویو، کلش هم نتانیاهوه. حکم تیر او صادر شده. به این صراحت کسی به شما صحبت نکرده.
It was a pretty awful night last night. I think it was around 5 in the morning that they were just bombing, but the bombs were different.
بشین تو بشین.
The house would shake and the house would shake. And then it was like non-stop. At one point, I think this is the first time during this whole thing that I was so scared. Because it would just go boom, boom. Last night, there was heavy strikes targeting specifically oil reserves. Hitting the oil depots. It doesn't make sense. This is for the people. This was for the people. Kind of bring this change of government. There's no need to attack the oil depots. It's around 8:30 in the morning, and you can see a very, very dark cloud. It's like black What that is inside each droplet of rain.
حضرت آیت الله العظما سید مجتبی خامنه ای.
So, Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, who survived, it seems, the attack, is now the official supreme leader. We're looking at, 9-10 days into the war, and suddenly we have a younger version of what we had before the war. So it makes everyone extremely weary. I don't know, I feel mentally, I'm not only afraid of bombs, but I'm afraid of being arrested. And I feel like maybe I'm a target. So many areas have been devastated by the bombardment, and people have lost their loved ones. And I think the people here, after enduring the protests, the harshness of the crackdown, and then into a war, I think it's absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. I think I can just break down and cry right now.
And you can watch an extended eyewitness account of the war on our YouTube channel and on ITVX. Let's return now to our international editor, Emma Murphy, who is in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Emma, we just saw there an incredibly rare insight into what people are enduring and thinking.
Indeed, and during the coverage of this war, what's been lacking are the unfettered voices of Iranian people and images from inside. A few voices, a few images have emerged, but they have been incredibly limited. Limited because of the controls that are put on people inside the country by the government, and also by the fact that the internet doesn't allow people to communicate much now with the outside world. But what really struck me listening to Shirin's words there was just how much emotional turmoil this is causing for people. You know, President Trump had offered help. I think when you listen to her words, certainly by day 7, she's starting to question whether or not this is the help that they needed. She was asking the question that so many have asked, which is, why is the oil being hit? That is something that will have a huge impact on the population within Iran. And then as she moves through those days, you start to really get a sense of the fear that's been building as the bombardment increases, and also the dreadful sadness at what is happening to the country. Iran is a polarized political country. There will be others who do not share her wish to see the regime change, but Iranians will not want to see their country destroyed in the next weeks and months.
Emma in Beirut, thank you very much. And it is the war in Iran that leads our news update tonight. Energy prices have surged after Israel bombed a major Iranian gas field. Iran has threatened to attack oil and gas facilities in the Gulf region in retaliation.